Welcome to the Celtics Journal Podcast, your weekly podcast covering the most storied franchise in sports, the Boston Celtics. I'm your host, Adam Kemp, alongside co-host Jeff Kidger. How you doing, Jeff?
You know, the Celtics did their absolute best trying to ruin my week, but I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I was doing well when we played the Magic, and then the last two games kind of, sunk my confidence for this team.
Understandable.
But we're doing our best. We're doing our best, Jeff. That's what the show's all about.
Best we can ask for, or the most we can ask for.
But this week, we're going to be talking about the games that we just saw, which we didn't see. Then we're going to talk about the play-in tournament and how we are now part of it. Never thought I'd say that, but here I am. And then in the third segment, we're going to wrap it up with the final four games of the regular season, tell you what we think, and then give you guys our final thought. Let's get started. So the first game was not too bad. We blew the Magic out, but I don't think you could have expected any other outcome.
No, they were injured too. They had like 8 active players. They are one of the worst rosters in the NBA, so if the Celtics decided to drop this game, that would have been a new low. I wasn't completely ruling out that possibility after we lost to the Thunder, but I'm glad to see that we turned it around a little bit and won by over 30 points.
Yeah, I mean, the final score was 132-96, so we beat them by 36 points. But like I said, it didn't really mean anything because the Magic were missing guys, so were we. But, I mean, it was just nice to see all the offense clicking, and it was nice to see Kemba get going, Fournier get going, Nesmith staying, He's been great.
Yeah, it looked like a pickup game more than anything else. It was
right.
Mo Wagner trying to get his little revenge and didn't really go well.
Everybody kind of just seemed to be taking turns in that game, so it was kind of an anomaly.
Yeah, my favorite part of that game though was Tatum was being guarded by Mo Wagner in the corner, and Tatum just hit a shot right in his face, and I'm like, what did he do to you in the short time that he was here?
No, I mean, I'm sure Mo Wagner has no bad blood towards Tatum, and I think vice versa. But like there were some shots that he was hitting where I'm just like, man, he was hitting some Kobe Bryant-esque shots, like that runner. I think it was like from like 15 feet.
Yeah. With
like 3 guys in his face. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, when he's going, it's something else.
Yeah. But then that faded quickly against the Bulls because they sent everything at him. And it seemed like it was successful because he only had 9 points. And we lost to one of the worst teams in the NBA, in the Bulls.
Yes. This game was pretty similar to the Heat game, if I'm being honest. They're just a less skilled version of the Heat.
Yep.
The Bulls and the Heat both just completely blitzed Tatum and forced him to make a pass to somebody else and dared them to beat us, and we weren't able to do that. The only difference, though, was against the Bulls, their offensive play style was trying to kind of run and gun. They have Kobe White, so it kind of worked for them. Kobe White was lights out in that game, too. He was really good. So they just kind of put us on our heels and never let us really get into the game. So, good for them, but it was really pathetic for the Celtics.
Yeah, and we've seen it all season. Like we always talk about it off air when we're like, this is like the same old story. Like we've seen this game 30, 40 times this season where, slow start, other teams scores like an enormous amount of points on us, and then we have a great comeback, but it's killed by heat checks and ultimately, some turnovers, stupid mistakes at the end of the game.
Yeah, the way they play in the first half is absolutely pathetic. Like most recently, you can't expect to win a basketball game when you let up 79 points in the first half.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you hit it on the head. Like you can't allow almost 80 points in the first half and then expect to beat not a contending team, but the team that was the Eastern Conference representative in the finals last year. Like they're not that much different of a team.
No, they're struggling, but they're still a really talented team with a really good coach,
right.
And they play together. If they're hitting shots and you're letting them get to open space, then they're going to destroy you, which is exactly what happened.
And Jimmy Butler knows how to take advantage of positioning too.
Yeah, he does.
Like he's one of the best in the league at doing it. Like he knows where the refs are going to be, and he knows that if I have my hand in this position, where the ref's kind of at an angle where he thinks it's going to be a foul, I'm going to up fake and get the foul every time.
I'm happy you
and
said that.
And it happens so often.
Yeah, I'm happy you said that because I was thinking the same thing where he seems to get calls that a lot of people don't, especially on jumpers, I notice. So I don't know why he always gets that. I don't know if it could be with what you're saying. He just kind of puts himself right in front of the ref and sells it, but I've never seen anyone else get calls like that.
Yeah, and then like the other thing, Bam Adebayo is doing it very well too. And I don't know if it's like a Jimmy Butler effect, but like I think Jimmy playing with Joel Embiid, and then Joel does this up fake, gets the foul call every time, and now Bam just starts to do it. I think that might have a little bit of it's not a coincidence. It's actually like it's exactly what it sounds like. Jimmy Butler told Bam to do exactly what one of the best centers in the NBA is doing, and he did it like 3 or 4 times on Tristan Thompson, where he either hit the shot or he got a foul. Yep. And it was every single time where I'm like, put your hand down, Tristan. Put your hand down, Tristan. Oh, okay. Yep. Didn't do it.
Yeah, he's learned from the best.
Every time. Yeah. So it's hard when you play guys who know what to do, and they have a really good coach.
Yeah. I think Spoelstra is one of the most underrated coaches. I don't know if it's just because we play them a lot, like they're in our conference, and we've had our run-ins with Spoelstra. But I don't think he gets enough credit. But the difference that he did in that game opposed to what the Bulls did was they emphasized the half court, and then they were just really patient in what they did, waited until they found their open spots, which were usually in the first half 3-pointers or mid-range jumpers. They just took what they were given, and then once the Celtics kind of compensated for that, they ended up getting layups and dunks. So they were executing really well. It was just in the second half, the Celtics kind of came out trying to be faster, put them on their heels, make them a little bit uncomfortable so they couldn't set the same way, and it turned out to be a good effort to coming back, but they fell short again.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. We continue to fall short, and it's frustrating, and I know everybody on Celtics Twitter and Celtics Instagram. I mean, Celtics Instagram honestly might be a little bit more reactionary.
Yeah, people are pretty down.
Yeah, like when people are down about the Celtics, they are down in the dumps. But this team has given us no reason to feel any other way. So like, yeah, I'm not mad at anybody.
Well, here's the thing.
I'm just disappointed in my team.
Yes, as we should be. But as we saw this week, Tatum didn't have a great week at all.
No.
So when he doesn't play well, we're gonna lose games, except against the injured Magic squad, which whatever.
I don't count it.
Yeah, that doesn't really tell me anything. Even if you're going up against a team like the Bulls, like a team that you should easily beat, if he's not on, the Celtics lose, and that's got to be frustrating for him. And it's just too much pressure to put on one person if you are trying to actually make some noise late in the season. And that's kind of why we are where we are.
Yeah, I don't want to like make Jason Tatum kind of seem like he had a really bad week, because he had a solid game against the Magic and he had a solid game against the Heat, and it was really the Bulls game that was the outlier. But I really want to talk about Robert Williams because I'm extremely concerned about his turf toe.
Okay.
And I think he played 11 minutes against the Heat, and I think that it was really representative of the health of his foot. I don't think it's good. And I think that these last 4 games should be dedicated to Robert Williams not playing and resting. And I don't even know if he should be playing the play-in game.
He's got to play it in the play-in game.
he might have, like, for us to win, he might have to, but for his health, and if we want him to be in, like, a first-round matchup, if we can even get there, we need him to take all the rest he needs. Because with turf toe, you can't jump the same way you normally do, and with an explosive athlete like Rob, he needs it. And you could kind of see it in the Heat game. He was basically ineffective. Like, he was minus 13 in 11 minutes played. So I don't know if that was him getting played off the floor by Bam, or if that was his foot and his toe not allowing him to do the same things in the court.
Yeah, I think we should definitely be concerned, and you're right, he wasn't doing that well in the Heat game because you could see him limping around. But if it comes to rest, then yeah, he probably shouldn't for the last 4 games of the season, but going into the play-in tournament, he has to play. He really helps the Celtics, and I understand that might make it a little bit more uncomfortable for him if we win and going into the first round matchup, but we have to make sure that we get there first.
Yeah, I know.
So he kind of, if you value this season, then he'd have to do that, and then he can take care of it in the off season.
Personally, I think that we can beat the Hornets without Robert Williams. But I know what you're saying, in that we should have all of our guys available and ready to go so that we can at least get us to the moment where we can talk about, being in the first round of the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, I think you're right. The Celtics should beat the Hornets without Robert Williams, but we've seen it over and over again where they lose games that they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that they've earned the right to rest somebody assuming they're going to win a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think I would really like to hear from Rob and hear about how he's doing, and I want to hear his reaction to like whether or not he's like, yeah, like it is a big problem, or it's like, oh no, I'm not really thinking about it too much, like it was just a bad game.
Yeah, that's true, but also, if you've got a player who was kind of questionable coming into the game, why would you put him back in after the first half that we had?
Mm-hmm.
If you're down by 26 points, I think it was.
Yeah.
Why would you bother risking further injury? That in that context, it didn't make sense to bring him back. So if it was more of reading the situation and making that determination, then that's okay. But if it's more of he was too injured to go back out there regardless of the score, then we've got a real problem.
I think it's a little bit of a combination of both, but I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure how injured Rob is. Mm-hmm. I think but turf toe is it's a bitch.
Yeah, it's supposed to be incredibly painful.
It's painful when you're such an explosive athlete, and it affects you for 2, 3, 4 weeks. It's not just like a week where you can kind of sit out. Like when I say he should sit out the last 4 games, that's the start of it.
Yeah.
He should sit out a week and then another week. And then hopefully we can be in the first round, game 2, and he can come back and be effective.
Yeah, that would be best case scenario. I just would be surprised if it played out that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, right now I guess it really doesn't really matter for the first round of the playoffs because we're not in that yet. So if you want to talk about the play-in, we can. Because right now we are the 7 seed, and we are. Let's see, we are now 2 games back from the Heat, so it honestly is starting to look like we will be playing the Hornets in the first play-in tournament.
Yeah, it feels like an inevitability right now, especially, if the Celtics lose against the Heat, then that's it. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, if we lose to the Heat, it's over, because they'll have the tiebreaker, and
exactly.
At that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the opponent in the play-in tournament isn't set in stone. Because the Wizards and the Hornets are within a half a game of each other, and the way the Hornets are playing, and they have a really hard schedule to finish it out. I would actually come close to expecting the Wizards to take that 8 seed, unless Beal is hurt.
I was gonna say I don't think they're going to take that spot because the Wizards play the Hawks twice and the Hornets once in the last 4 games. And I don't think the Hawks are going to lose tonight against the Wizards because I don't think Bradley Beal's playing. I think he's out.
Okay.
So Hawks win that one, and the Wizards are already down a game, so that would put them at 1.5. Hornets, I'm not really. I don't know. I think that what we see right now is how it's going to end up, just because I think the Wizards are kind of just going to accept that they're in that 9-10, and they're not going to care if they're 9-10. They're going to beat whoever they're going to play. Probably the Pacers, right?
Yeah, they're going to play the Pacers. The Pacers are pretty firmly locked into the 10 unless the Wizards drop some games. But either way, they're going to be playing each other. But I want to read you the Hornets schedule to close things out.
Mm-hmm. Please.
It'd be against the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Knicks, and the Wizards. So they play each other to finish the season.
Mm-hmm.
But going up against those top of the Western
that might
Conference,
come down to it.
And the Clippers and Nuggets, and then you play the Knicks, who still are kind of battling a little bit. You could see the Hornets losing some games, and then if it ends up coming down to the last game of the season, I would bet on the Wizards the way they've been playing. So I could see it happening that way. But if you had to choose between the Hornets and Wizards, who would you rather play?
I mean, I'd probably rather play the Hornets, honestly, because I don't want to see Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal as our play-in tournament team. Because I don't think that they are a play-in team either. I think that their whole franchise is a mess, honestly. But their team has been. I mean, they have 2 stars, but no one else really to fill in those gaps. And I wish we had Mike on today to talk about it and talk about the legitimacy of the Wizards. But I see them as a team that shouldn't be in the 9, but because of everybody that they have to support those 2 guys, they're good enough to beat us.
Absolutely. I think both teams, both the Hornets and the Wizards, could conceivably beat us.
I don't think that the Hornets can beat us. I think that they did get lucky in that one game when they beat us recently.
Okay.
I think that in a playoff game, when it's your stars against their stars, our stars blow the Hornets out of the water.
For sure.
And with the Wizards, I think Bradley Beal is a scary motherfucker.
Yeah, he absolutely is. It's just I don't know what the Hornets' health is going to be like. I don't know where Gordon Hayward is in his recovery. So
I don't think he's going to be a factor.
Okay.
I think we've seen it in the past couple of years. Even when he's back from injury in the playoffs, it does not matter.
Yeah, that's there's something to that. If he's there, though, I do think the Celtics would have a really good chance of losing that game. And we haven't played against the Hornets with LaMelo.
And Hayward.
Yeah, so we haven't really seen their full squad.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen their banged up one where Terry is their number 1 option. And if that's...
Sounds a lot like the Celtics.
Yeah.
from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's true. So I think regardless of who they go up against, whether it's the Wizards or the Hornets, they should be worried. They need to go out and earn that win.
Well, yeah, if you are in the play-in tournament, you should be worried because you've done something wrong.
Absolutely.
But you are good enough to at least be in the playoffs. So, and I know we've had a very up and down season, but not to make excuses, but we have had so many unique scenarios play out for us where, like with Jason Tatum having COVID, Tristan Thompson being out, 2 or 3 times, Evan Fournier being traded and then out, and then he plays a little bit, plays well, and then he gets COVID. It's like we've had so many things where we should have won a big stretch of games, but we didn't have our main guys. And then we're also not playing Kemba in back-to-backs. We have a very unique situation.
Yeah.
And I think that because we're not gonna have that problem of, where's Kemba this game, or where's where are these guys? If we're going into a playoff game or a playing game, we are going to have everybody ready to go, and everybody should be buying in.
Yeah, I hope that it can kind of be reduced to just general health and chemistry among guys that they acquired, particularly Evan Fournier, and just making sure that everyone's on the court at the same time. But I'm not sure if that's the case. Um, I hope I'm wrong, but it feels like it's deeper than that. I think that they could all just stand from kind of just going into this off season and be good coming next year, but that's really not what we're looking at right now. So I'm worried that they're going to kind of fall back into what they've done all season, who they've shown us that they are, and drop games that they shouldn't. So I'm going to be watching that intently, going to be really worried. But here's the thing with it, though. If the if the standings stay the way they are, and the Celtics win against the Hornets, then they would be in the 7th seed. And currently, the 2 seed is the Brooklyn Nets, which is the one team where even if the Celtics are playing well, I don't think the Celtics really have a chance against them. So
it's fair to say. I mean, they're definitely they're paper champions this year.
Yeah.
But where's James Harden? Is he back?
He said that he's going to come back before the end of the regular season. He's not there yet.
We haven't seen him. Yeah. So I don't think that we have any. I mean, we have a chance against the Nets because we're a good team. We always forget that we could end up seeing a game where Jalen, Jason, and Kemba all have 33.
Yeah,
and we just scored 100 points with 3 guys. It can happen.
Yeah, and then with our bench unit, we're going to end up with 110.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, okay.
Well, yeah, but like I'm trying to say like we have the guys to do it. We just need to see them all in one game. And how many times have we seen them all in one game this season?
Very few. So that's
very few.
That's a good point.
It's a point to be made that we have a puncher's chance against these teams if all of our guys are playing. It's just we have not seen it. Yeah. And I sound like a broken record every week I say this, but it's the truth. We have not seen our team.
Yeah, just the feeling that I'm having.
It's the same thing with the Hornets.
Yeah, well, the feeling that I'm having is that that's not going to fix it all the way through, especially in a play-in tournament style where even if it's just not being able to play with each other enough, they won't have the chemistry necessarily to just come out and destroy these teams that they should, even if they're healthy. So I hope you're right. But what I'm also worried about is that so much of the seeding for the rest of the season is out of the Celtics' control. So I just said that I want to dodge the Nets desperately. Yeah. But they could, if the Bucks want the 2 seed, they could conceivably take that. They're only a half a game back of the Nets.
I think that's probably best case scenario for us.
For sure. For sure.
But let me ask you, what is your what percent chance do you see the Celtics being the 7th seed? They are the 7th seed because they beat the Hornets. Let's just say.
I mean, I think the way that it is, there's probably like a 75% chance that they end up being the 7th seed.
And then it's like, I don't know, what percent chance do you think that we don't even make the playoffs? Like we lose to the Hornets and then we lose to the Wizards too. I'm trying to get the worry meter.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So if I said 75% for the 7th seed, then I'm probably going to go 10% that we miss the playoffs, so that it's more likely that we get the 8th seed than we miss the playoffs entirely. But I would really want it to play out where we play the Bucks or the Sixers.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that we would necessarily win those games, but I think we have a puncher's chance.
I want to play the Sixers, and I said this the entire year. I want a scenario where we are playing them in the playoffs.
I think that would be fun. I think it would be closer than the last game was.
We would probably, I don't want to write off our team, but we would probably lose in 5 or 6 games to the Bucks, and we would probably lose in 5 games to the Nets. I think we can beat the Sixers in 6 games.
You think we can beat the Sixers in 6 games?
I think we can beat the Sixers in 6 games. This is the only top-seeded team I think we can actually beat in 7 games.
Now, I would love to see an 8 seed being the Celtics take down the Sixers. That would be hilarious.
That would be the greatest storyline of this season.
They already have Sixers fans already have a problem with the Celtics. If that happens, they would never be able to move on. That would be hilarious. I'm here for that.
I'm definitely here for it, but I mean, I think that that's our best chance at getting to the second or third round.
You think the Celtics have a better chance of beating the Sixers than the Bucks?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Nets.
For sure, the Nets. We're on the same page with the Nets being the least favorable outcome.
Ideally, we didn't lose all these games, and we were able to sneak into the 4-5 and play either Atlanta or New York, and then we were able to get to Philly in the second round, and then we take out whoever's left, probably Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But if the scenario plays out where the Bucks are the 3 seed, or let's just say the Nets are the 3 seed, and Miami catches fire as a 6 seed, they take out Brooklyn. We're the 7 seed. We beat the Bucks, and then the Heat beat the Sixers, and now it's Heat Celtics again, Eastern Conference Finals. I think I can see that playing out. There's so many different scenarios where I can see the Sixers losing because I just don't see them as legit.
Yeah, you're not buying the Sixers. I think this year more than any other year, the Sixers are really good. They might be a little overrated, but I in the past have just not been afraid of them at all because they were a deeply flawed team.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I still see them as the Brett Brown Sixers. But
yeah,
I know they have Doc Rivers, but that man chokes and
he does. Doc is good.
He's
really good with his players. He's good at getting people up for these games. He's the players' coach. But he's not very good at adjusting. So when he has great players, he looks great because he can make them play at their best. But when they go up against somebody else that's equally as talented, then he really struggles. But
I would like to see an Eric Spoelstra Doc Rivers coaching matchup, and
I don't think the Heat have a chance to make a run like they did last year. I don't. I think that
I think
better than the Hawks and the Knicks. I'll say that. But I don't think that they have a chance to make that deep of a run.
I think that they're coming together at the right time. That might not mean that maybe it doesn't translate to a Eastern Conference Finals run or a Finals run, but I do think that they are a scary team, along with the Celtics.
Yeah.
In this Eastern Conference, this weird season where, to me, any team can really make it out of the East. I think the Brooklyn Nets are, 75% favorites here.
Yeah.
But I think that extra 25% is every other team has kind of an equal shot, except for the Hawks, except for the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them as legit contenders. I think they were just a beneficiary of strong play consistently all season, and that they're just they'll be like whatever in these playoffs.
Yeah, I don't mean to
not to hate, but
yeah, not trying to
be
hate
realistic
on the Knicks, even though I did that a couple weeks ago on this pod.
We love it.
I just think that they play really hard, and that's what's gotten them to where they are. And in the playoffs, everyone plays hard, so that's where they're going to be kind of exposed as an inferior team. But yeah, yesterday watching the Heat, I know this is going to be a hard argument to make after having them drop 79 points in a half, but they looked like a beatable team. I think they are a problem, or they're going to have a problem when they're not shooting as lights out as they were in the bubble. That's what set them apart from other teams. That's what made it so that they could kind of make that push. But now I don't think, because right now it's the Bucks Heat. I think the Bucks beat them this time. I really do. But the Heat and the Celtics are two teams where they at least have the talent to scare kind of those more solid.
Yeah.
Those are the solid teams.
They're not your traditional 6 and 7 seed.
No.
So like in a normal year, the Nets and Bucks are kind of like, all right, we got our first round matchup, cool, whatever. Now it's like, oh dang, we got to play the Celtics in the first round.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were gonna have to have some tough opponents so quickly.
Yeah, it feels like with the Celtics, it's just if I was another team going against them, you just kind of have to hope that we beat ourselves. Because we have proven that we do that very often, but with the pieces,
we love to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, with the pieces that we have and the people we have on the roster, they're objectively very scary players to have to go up against. So if they kind of figure things out or they hit a hot streak, then that's not a team you want to face. But you've only seen that for like 25% of the season, so you just kind of have to hope that they don't hit that at any point during a series. So
exactly. But to go back to the Heat, because like we play them back to back. I had them at a loss last week.
Yep.
Like I had the Celtics losing.
Yeah, I
think you did too, right?
We did. We did very well in our predictions last week.
So last week we lost to the Heat. This week I think we beat the Heat because I think it comes down to like the sense of urgency. I think after losing that game and just seeing us in the play-in tournament and then seeing us 2 games back from the 6th seed, I think it had to have wakened us up a little bit, right?
Yeah, that's my hope. That's kind of the logic that I took with it too. It's like I have us down as a win this week against the Heat, just because I want to believe in my team.
Right.
We have our backs against the wall. If we lose, we are locked into the play-in tournament. So I really hope they can kind of pull it together. And it's one of 2 of these little mini series. We had one against the Sixers earlier this season, but we didn't have Tatum. That was during his COVID stretch, and I'd kind of like to see how we adjust in a game that means a lot. We've played teams close to each other. Like we had 3 games against the Hornets, really close. We played the Hawks, in close succession. So we've seen them a little bit, but there were still games in between those. I just want to see these mini series and see what Brad and all the players have to do to adjust. So I'm excited to see this game, and I'm betting on the Celtics to win.
Yeah, like I think this Heat game almost has a playoff feel to it, where you got us in game 1, but game 2, Brad Stevens is going to come out and make some adjustments. We know Eric Spoelstra is going to make adjustments. He's the king of it. So it's a matter of what do we do to respond when we get punched in the mouth. And we saw what we did last year in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Heat. We got punched in the mouth by Bam Adebayo, and then we basically kind of laid down and died. Like we had some fight, but it seemed like after that block it was kind of like, well, let's pack it in, guys.
Yeah, that was tough. Well, the Celtics did a really good job competing, at least in the first half, and then they kind of let things go. In the second half of those games, pretty much all series, it was kind of the same format.
I think that Bam block really affects us because you saw it in last game. We weren't attacking the rim. Did you see it? Did you see us attacking the rim at all?
Not really. They did in the second half, and Scal was commenting on it. That's what he was kind of begging for the entire time, and no one really did it until it was too late.
It seemed like in the first half we were a little weary to go to the rim because we obviously have some bad memories. But it seems like we do that a lot with teams that have a center that can just stand there and protect the rim, or like an Embiid, a Bam Adebayo, maybe a Cat, not too much with him, but like those types of centers where we just attack the rim less, and that's what we should be doing. We should be attacking the rim, getting fouls called on those guys because they can't block you every time. There's going to be a blocking foul in there. There's going to be a shooting foul in there. So you got to keep pressing the rim.
Yeah, absolutely. even in this game in the second half when they started attacking, the Heat were getting in some serious foul trouble. If we were doing that all game, that they would have had no players left.
Right.
But this is part of the reason why I think the Celtics need to go out and get a stretch five. Like if Luke Cornett was better,
Yeah.
that would be a really dangerous addition for the Celtics. I think Tatum especially likes to play with somebody who pops for a shot like that, where he can just make that open pass to somebody that will shoot over the top, but it also pulls the opposing center out of the paint where he can just drive freely. So.
It was kind of nice having Tice, like just for that reason exactly. Like, I'm not saying that I would rather have had Tice and Rob than, Rob and Tristan, but I did like the versatility of having one center that's, a rim runner who's an explosive athlete, and the other one who great at setting screens. He pick and pops. He knows how to shoot the three, and he's good at it. And I mean, we've seen how he's been really good, by the way, with Chicago.
Yeah.
Just a quick Daniel Tice excerpt. He's been playing very well.
Yeah, in the game.
And I miss him, but go ahead.
I was gonna say in the games that he was hitting shots, it was huge for the Celtics. It was, but he was so hot and cold at times.
Yeah.
It was really like the. I think the ideal play style for Tatum is with Horford back when that was a thing.
I think we both want Horford back.
Yeah, he was perfect. He was a really smart player who could knock down a shot. That did exactly what we're talking about here. But I don't think that it was a mistake really trading Tice, because like the contract situation and the overlap in skill set between him and Rob. So I think it was time for that to happen anyway. It's just I would be surprised if the Celtics don't go after a stretch five if one becomes available.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it better happen. Like, if we got rid of the one guy that could do exactly what Tatum kind of needs, like, we better go out and get another guy in the offseason, or he's like, this can be step number one in him leaving in free agency in a couple of years, because we haven't been making the right moves around him. Not saying that that's the case. I'm not saying that's the case, but I want to, I want to make sure that our superstars are happy, and you can't hate that.
No, you can't. It's made me nervous.
Can't hate anyone for that.
It made me nervous with even saying it.
No, but these last 4 games, let's jump into them.
Yep.
So we got the Heat. We're gonna win that game, right?
Yep.
Cavs, I have them at a win.
Yeah, this one I struggled with a little bit, just because the Celtics are on the second night of a back-to-back in this game. And the Celtics will be away. But the Cavs have lost over 10 games in a row. So I would be shocked.
With the Thunder,
yeah, I can't handle a Thunder repeat. So I'm going to go with a win on that one too.
I have a Carson Edwards, master class against the Cavs, actually.
Yeah, it's time for that to happen again.
But I have us losing against the Timberwolves. I think that's going to be their playoff game. That's going to be their NBA Finals, where they're kind of getting all their young guys the experience against one of the best teams in the NBA. I know it doesn't seem like we are, but I think we still have that title and that kind of that energy where you're playing Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker on the best franchise in sports.
Yeah.
Let's go out and beat them.
The Timberwolves thrive in the last few games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you too. Just because I have us going 2-2 this week, so the reason why I say
oh gosh,
yeah, sorry to spoil that, but the Timberwolves game, the reason why I say that we lose that game is just because Rob's probably not going to be there, or at least not as effective. And I think Tristan.
I hope he's not there.
Yeah, and Tristan's going to have a hard time with Cat. So I just think that Cat's going to go off, which is going to try to get other people helping out on him, and then he can make that pass out to the perimeter, spots that we're already not very good at covering. So I think that could end up being... And Anthony Edwards is playing really well. So
I think, side note, I think Anthony Edwards is the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far because he was putting up solid numbers most of the season. It's just he was terribly inefficient the first half. So the only argument for him to be able to make up that ground was LaMelo missing time. But I
I
do kind
think
of
that
agree that he's been better.
I think LaMelo missing time should solidify Anthony Edwards as the rookie of the year because he didn't miss an extended period of time with a broken wrist or a fractured wrist.
Yeah.
It seems like Anthony Edwards he had the tools early on and he was struggling on one of the worst teams in the NBA and struggling with being on that type of team. And then once he kind of got it to click, he's now hit a whole new level where he's in the kind of conversation of like not where Tatum was, but like you're mentioning this guy's name with LeBron and like other legends that have come before him, and like it's he's in good company. And I think you can say the same thing about LaMelo Ball, but you can also say that Anthony Edwards has played a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with the logic. I just think that the way that he started off was well, it's going to be the thing that holds him back. I
Right.
think that the way that he played is not he's not going to have enough to make up the ground for LaMelo. And I think people have kind of already crowned LaMelo as the rookie of the year.
Yeah, and that's kind of the annoying thing for me because it seemed like from the beginning of the season, everybody was like, this is the rookie of the year before we even saw him play. And then he kind of had like an average game and we were like, oh, yes, like this is it. This is what we waited for.
Well,
When
LaMelo has been really good. LaMelo's been an excellent
I don't want to
player.
take away from him. He's been very good. I think that because of the time he missed, I think that we should give it to the guy who's been playing the
Yeah.
entire year.
Yeah, there's a strong argument for that. I really am a fan of LaMelo, though. So if I had to choose right now, I'd go with LaMelo. But so we both have a loss against the Timberwolves,
hmm
but you have a different result against the Knicks, right?
I have us beating the Knicks just because it's the last game of the season, and I pray to God that we beat the Knicks. Like, we can't lose the
That would be
season
nice.
series to the Knicks.
All right. Well, when you put it that way, it makes me feel bad for choosing us to lose that game. But I also think, especially if the Celtics lose against the Heat, which what we've already said, I don't think we will. But in the case of the Celtics lose against the Heat, then we're locked into the play-in tournament, and by the very last game of the season, the Celtics may just not have anything to play for.
Right. Yeah. And that would be the situation where we lose.
Yeah, but I honestly think we'd lose anyway.
You have no confidence
I
in
go
this.
through that entire rant and then just be like, it doesn't really matter. We're going to lose either way.
It doesn't matter. We lost.
Yeah,
I can see it happening because the Knicks play very well against good teams, and this year the Knicks have been playing at a completely different level with Tibbs as their coach. And I mean, the way we've been playing this season shows us every indication that we're going to lose that game. So,
yeah, it feels like a game
I
that
disagree.
we're going to drop for no reason.
I disagree with the outcome of the game.
Not for no reason.
Yeah. Disagree with the outcome of the game, but I agree with the possibility of us just not having anything to play for in that game.
Yeah, I think there's something poetic about losing a game that you should win to close out the season, as just a microcosm of what the entire season is.
Yeah, it's routine at this point.
Yeah,
But-
I'm too used to it now.
Let's wrap up the show with your final thought.
My final thought seems a little bit random, and also a little bit weird considering how this week went. But I'm gonna go over to the Orlando Magic, and I have decided for the next few years I'm gonna be a Magic fan as well. I love what they're doing.
Okay.
I know we just beat them by 36 points, but they finally picked a direction, which is what I'm so happy about. They've always been in this weird limbo where nobody knows where they're going.
Yeah, ever
And they
since Dwight
finally-
Howard, they've been.
It's really weird.
knows? Yeah.
Nobody knows. They're either failing at trying to rebuild or failing at trying to win. Have no idea. But
Mhm.
they finally cleared everyone off at the trade deadline. They got a pretty solid return for a couple of those guys, to the point where they have two first round, or they have two top 10 picks this season. They've got guys that I really like in Markelle Fultz, R.J. Hampton, Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac, and then they'll have the cap space in the future. So as long as they can at least hit on one of those those top 10 picks, develop, and then kind of establish a competent culture to the point where they could sign some sort of free agent, then they're looking at being a solid team in the East at the beginning of their uprise. So I think if they can at least develop these guys, then they have a very promising future, and I like what they've done. It could happen pretty quickly in under 5 years. So.
Yeah, we've seen teams kind of go from nothing to something, and the Magic have the makeup to do that because they have enough guards, they have enough wings, they kind of have everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what they needed to do was get rid of Vucevic.
Yeah, and they did it at the perfect time.
And yeah, like throughout the entire beginning of the season, everybody wanted Vucevic on the team, and I did not. I was the biggest advocate against it because I don't see the value. I kind of see him as a good guy on a mediocre team that doesn't actually help them win. So like if we brought him in, we would have been.
I would have loved him.
I would have not.
I think he kind of brings a little bit more than. I mean, it may have been a little bit too rich for what he was worth, but in a vacuum, his skill set I really do like, for some of the reasons that we talked about with the stretch five kind of guy.
I'm not saying he's bad.
Yeah,
but I don't think he's the right player to be like kind of the centerpiece on the team, and I think Aaron Gordon was another one.
Mm-hmm.
Where those guys just didn't work together. So they needed to figure something out, and I'm glad that they picked the direction of guards and wings.
Yes. So they have a solid core. They set themselves up to turn around reasonably quickly, and I mean, good for them.
I like that final thought. Yeah. I do.
And yours? Your final thought?
Well, my final thought is it's a homer take. It's a green teamer take.
I'm ready for it.
I truly believe that the playoffs are going to bring a different Celtics team. I think that all the inconsistency that we've had throughout the season, through injuries and everything, I said it earlier on in the show, like I just think that when it comes time to be that team, we're going to do what we're supposed to do. I think Brad Stevens is going to, like I said, make a better name for himself. Like he's kind of been getting dragged by Celtics fans all year, that he hasn't been able to get these guys riled up or get these guys ready for the moment. But the moment's about to be here, and I think that we are going to surprise a lot of the doubters. So my final take is that the Celtics are going to go into this play-in tournament. They're going to kick ass. They're going to come out of it, and I mean, ideally, we're the 8 seed playing against the Sixers, but I think we're gonna surprise whoever we play in the first round.
Yeah, I like that take. It's just, the Celtics are built like a playoff team, where you can, when the game slows down, you can kind of get away with a little bit more ISO ball, and then it comes down to whether your guy can beat theirs one-on-one. It's a little bit more, obviously it's more intricate than that, but in theory, with the way the roster is constructed, the Celtics should be a better playoff team than a regular season team. So if they can actually get themselves together, then I think everything could fall in line for that to be a great prediction.
Yeah, it's my final thought, but it's also my hopeful thought.
Yes, I hope so too.
I'm trying to inspire our listeners to have some hope with this team, because it's not all bad.
Yeah, it could be worse.
I think another side note with this team, like we played the first half of the season without Gordon Hayward, and I know like we knew this coming into the season, but we didn't have his replacement for the first half of the season. And when we finally got that replacement in Evan Fournier, we weren't necessarily given the best showcase of that because he was out with COVID.
Yeah,
so I think right now is that perfect timing where everything's going to come together for us, and it's just a matter of Jaylen Brown being healthy and Robert Williams being healthy. And those were two stingers at the end of the season that we just did not need.
Yeah, I hope Evan Fournier can be the guy that he's shown the last week or so, last 2 weeks.
Mm.
The only thing, actually, it was mostly these last couple games, but the reason why I'm a little bit nervous about that is just because the teams that we played against kind of signed up for that. And what I mean is they collapsed on Jason Tatum, and then they forced other people to beat him, so he was just going to get open shots. He just happened to hit them. He proved he can hit them, which is pretty much all I really wanted. So if he can continue doing that in the playoffs, I don't see any reason why you would be wrong necessarily.
Yeah, I think he's hitting, like I said, I think he's hitting stride when he needs to. I think he went through a rough stretch, but I think we're ready for it, and I'm excited to see what happens. But I think that's a great place to wrap up the show. Do you have anything else to say? Anything else to add?
No, I hope that you're right, and we are in for a wild end of the season.
It's been a roller coaster all year, so I don't know why it would change. So.
Exactly.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, repost, and review our stuff. We love to hear your feedback. Jeff, it's always been a pleasure.
Of course, happy to be here.
Of course. Love to have you. We'll see you next time. Go Celtics.